When you're starting out as an artist, you don't always know where you're going, how to get started, sometimes even wondering if you're on the right track. Looking back, there are a few lessons that seem so obvious now that I'm a freelance illustrator, but which I didn't realize at all when I started out. So here are 5 artist tips if you want to make a living with art. By the way, as you can see, I'm testing a slightly different format with a time-lapse drawing in the background. If you have any thoughts on this, let me know in the comments for upcoming videos. Anyways, here we go! What wouldn't we do to be taken seriously when we're just starting out and be seen as super cool professionals? But ironically, it can also happen that when you turn pro, you start to miss the carefree days of when you were younger. I talk about it in detail in my previous Sketchbook tour video, but it's mostly that when you're still naive and don't know the industry, you allow yourself much more. Moreover, I sincerely believe that this naivety is actually an asset that pushes you forward. At that time, we're so passionate, we draw without any fear of judgment, we experiment, we dare, we just have fun, and it's really what will make you improve and move forward, which will make you take confidence in your technique, in your creativity, to surpass yourself and evolve. When you go pro, I have the feeling that it will be impossible to go back, because you now have responsibilities, bills to pay, clients and an audience who have certain expectations regarding the quality of your work. Having spoken with different artists, you often have to question yourself at the beginning of freelancing. There's a lot of new things to manage and it takes a little time to adapt before coming back to a more carefree state of mind. We'll always love drawing. It will be very enriching because our level now allows us to create what we truly want, but it will be a calmer and more mature passion. So honestly, the amateur phase will be one of the most rewarding of your life as an artist. Make the most of it and do whatever you like. When people don't know you yet, draw whatever you want and just have fun. Which brings me to my next piece of advice. I dare say that most young people who want to draw manga are self-taught and learn from books, YouTube videos and tutorials found here and there on the internet. It's really great to give yourself the means to learn, and that will really make you evolve. However, the seriousness you input when learning will make a huge difference. If you know you want to go further and possibly make a living from drawing, take your art studies as seriously as possible, even if it's self-taught, while you're still in amateur mode. When you start freelancing, you have enough to deal with, between your administrative tasks, paperwork, looking for clients, managing commissions, and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. Believe me, going back to drawing classes at that point will be the least of your concerns. To give you an example, during school vacations I was having trouble with some special poses, so I thought it would be fun to learn about the muscles of the human body. It was complicated, I learned the whole thing more or less approximately, and it was enough for what I was doing at the time. But as a freelancer 3 years later, I was horrified to realize that I had trouble drawing certain commissions because my level was just too superficial. And since I had forgotten almost all the muscles because I had never done it thoroughly, I had to start all over again with art classes on top of it, and that stressed me out because I had other non-negotiable obligations and deadlines. And I really cursed the younger me who had all the time in the world and who hadn't been able to draw seriously at the time. As boring as it is, if you really want to pursue art as a career, seriously studying the basics is so important. Shiny object syndrome is the entrepreneurial term for wanting to do everything, jumping at every opportunity out of fear of missing out on the opportunity that will finally make your career take off. Some young artists are hyper motivated and want to be on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, DeviantArt, make YouTube videos and Twitch lives, and run a Patreon in addition to an online store and convention sales. Oh, and their favorite artist just got published, so let's go for a weekly webtoon too. Yes, you will be visible everywhere, but it's also the perfect recipe to kill yourself slowly. I'll say it again. You have a lot to manage as a self-employed artist because yes, if you're intending to make a living with it and art pays your bills, you are a business. It's impossible to be everywhere and you will have to make choices for your physical and mental health. Yes, it means turning down some opportunities and that's frustrating, I get it. But in the long run, it's the right thing to do. A normal human can withstand stress for a period of time, but if you overload yourself with work, you won't last long. Instead of trying to be everywhere and try everything, take a moment to think, what makes sense for your creative business? Who is your audience and what do you want to do? For example, if you're, let's say, creating a political comic for an adult audience, there's no point in being on TikTok, which is mainly for young people, and you're better off on Facebook or Twitter, or even LinkedIn. Or if you hate talking in front of people, don't force yourself to do YouTube vlogs every week because it works for the other people. Focusing on a small number of things that you're 100% committed to will bring you faster and more concrete results. Imagine that you split your time with 50% drawing and commissions, 25% developing your online store, and 25% Instagram. Now, imagine 30% drawing and 10% Insta, Facebook, Pinterest, Webtoon, online store, Patreon, and Twitch respectively. Where do you think you're most likely to succeed because we'll have more time and therefore better quality? Also, every artist is different. What will work for someone will not necessarily work for someone else, and that's normal. We all have our strengths, our weaknesses, our preferences, and it is by accepting all of these that you will be able to evolve more easily. Choose your opportunities because you believe in them and because you really want to do it, not because others do it and you're afraid of missing out. Let's be honest, we've all been kinda crying at the number of our followers and likes compared to other artists who have many more. It's become such an important topic that some people even buy fake likes to boost their ego and make themselves look popular, so... If you want to make a living with drawing, the numbers that ultimately count are the ones on your bank account, not your social media. You can have thousands of subscribers. If nobody buys, it will not help you. So don't think that you have no chance with only a small number of followers, because that's not true at all. I've been on Instagram for almost 4 years with 900 followers. It was a bit depressing at first until I realized that most of the people who support me are not on social media. My clients are mainly schools, companies, and a lot of strangers at events with whom I exchange either by email or in real life. And also, some of the older artists around me are almost hopeless with their online presence, but they make a very good living with art and are also more focused on offline discussions. It's interesting to notice that it echoes with the previous advice. They are fully invested in commissions and artwork, zero on social media, and it pays off. Where they put their heart and soul into, they get noticed and better results and make a decent living with illustration in return. Now, I'm not saying that your online presence is worthless, because in some cases it can definitely bring you great opportunities. But if possible, learn to let go of this need for likes and followers that we often have nowadays. Learn to detach your value as an artist from those numbers on social media, and you will be much, much better off. And speaking of value, there are those artists who have very little confidence in their abilities or are too perfectionist and underestimate themselves. They're never happy with what they do. And there's also those other artists who are always the most gifted in their close circle and who overestimate themselves by thinking that everything they do is a true masterpiece. The key to moving forward in your creative journey is a healthy mix of the two. Look objectively at where you are. Really, it's okay to have illustrations where you think, wow, I'm so good. And really, you can be proud of yourself. Drawing should be a pleasure above all, and if you're never satisfied with what you do, isn't that a bit sad? Because as time goes by, you get better, you learn new techniques, you gain mastery, and that's really something to be proud of. Even if you're not where you want to be yet, look how far you've come. You can give yourself a pat on the back. Be careful, we don't want arrogance here, but it's important to realize objectively what you're able to do, to celebrate your small victories, whether it's for your self-esteem or just to keep the motivation and desire to keep on drawing. Now, on the other hand, of course, not every drawing will be a masterpiece. There will be failures. It is also important to remain humble and open-minded enough to see your shortcomings. Here again, don't bully yourself, but simply realize what you lack in order to practice and thus improve and become able to produce always better drawings. A good balance between the two will allow you to develop fully as an artist because you know both your strengths and you accept your weaknesses. By taking the time to savor your successes with your current level, you will be much more receptive to your weaknesses in order to improve them. To illustrate this, imagine that you always say to yourself, "No, I don't draw well, it's ugly, others draw better." And you realize that your light and shadings are so lacking. This will totally reinforce the idea that you are bad. On the other hand, if you say to yourself, "I have a much better grasp of anatomy and I'm happy to have succeeded in drawing this pose, which was still a big challenge a year ago," realizing that you need to work on light and shadows will be much more motivating because you'll say to yourself something around like, "Yay, my drawings can be even better if I master this." Do you see the difference? So your way of thinking and perceiving things will make you evolve so much as an artist. And it has nothing to do with drawing per se, but an open and serene mindset will be much more valuable and such a good ally throughout your whole career. So yes, those are my 5 big freelance artist lessons. Draw and enjoy being an amateur. Learn seriously before you go pro. Stop with the shiny object syndrome. Your online fame does not equal your paycheck. And recognize your value and who you are. Now, as always, I'd love to hear from you which of these 5 tips resonated most with you. Do you have other good advice and tips for artists? Tell us in the comments so that we can motivate each other. If you like this video, please show it with a little like, and to see more, subscribe and turn on the little notification bell for new episodes that will help you grow from art to business, always on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Thank you so much for being here and see you soon!